Question 35 is a word problem. It says, during her shift, a pilot flies from Columbus to Atlanta, a distance of 448 miles, then on to Phoenix, a distance of 1583 miles. From Phoenix, she returns home to Columbus, a distance of 1,667 miles. Determine the angles of the triangle created by her flight path. So basically, I'm just going to use letters to represent this. I'm going to say here she is starting in Columbus, and she goes to Atlanta. And it says in the problem that that's a distance of 448 miles. And then on to Phoenix, so she goes to Phoenix, and when she does that, it's 1583. And then going back from Phoenix to Columbus, it's going to be 1667. Alright, so to determine the angles, basically I know I'm going to use cosine rule because I have side, 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 so that's when you use cosine rule also. And basically just pick an angle to start with. So I'll go ahead and pick C to start with. So if I want to solve for angle C, the idea is that you have to start with the side across from it for your formula. So in this case, I have to start with 1583 squared. The other two, it doesn't matter what order you put them in. So I'll just put 448 and 1667 minus 2 times Alright, so that's cosine of C. So basically just notice the formatting. The side across from the angle you're looking for, those should be on the ends. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do 1583 squared. And I get 2505889. And then over here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to combine these two because these are just numbers, so that's allowed. So I'm going to do 448 squared plus 1667 squared. Obviously, also a very large number. 9593 minus. This, I'm going to do all the calculations, but I'm going to leave it there. Times 448, 1667. Alright, so in order to solve this, basically this number is attached to cosine C, so please don't put these two numbers together. You're not allowed. What you need to do is you need to minus this one to the other side. So minus and I'm going to get 250,589. Oh, guess be careful if you're working with numbers this large that you don't miss any digits. Minus 2979593. And we get negative 473,704. Alright, so from here you're going to divide by this one. And whatever we do on one side, we have to do on the other. Watch your signs, all of that. 14, 3, 6, 32. Alright, and then because it's cosine here, we're going to need to do shift cosine of this to find the actual angle. So I'm just going to do that all at once. So shift cosine, and then it's a fraction. I have a negative divided by a negative, so I'm not going to put the negative because I know it's going to be positive. You can put the negative, it doesn't matter, as long as you put it on both. Alright, so 473704, 14,93632. Close the brackets. So in this case, if I'm rounding the angle to the nearest degree, I'm going to get 72. Alright, so from there, you're going to want to find another angle. You could use sine rule using 72, but to be honest, I just rounded a lot to get 72, so really it's probably better if you use cosine rule again. I'm going to go ahead and do that, but I'm going to do it a little bit faster and sort of putting all the numbers in at once. I'll show you sort of what you could do if you don't want to write it all out. So let's go ahead and look for P next. So in this case, I'll put the 448 in the front because it's across from the angle I'm looking for. So 448 equals, and then these other two numbers, it doesn't matter which one goes where. One, 6, 6, 7. Cosine of P. Alright, so basically if I were going to work this out, a couple shortcuts, I can just subtract these two over here. So I'm just going to put that in the calculator all at one time. So 448 squared minus 1667 squared, and then minus 1583 squared. Okay, so I get negative, let's see if I can write all this so you can see it, negative 5084074 equals negative, I'm just going to leave this the way it is, 1667, 1583. If you can do all of this in the calculator without making errors, without showing every step, you will also be okay, but I just caution you because clearly there are lots of places where you could make small mistakes by accident. So I need to take this number and I need to divide by all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up a fraction, and I'm going to put the answer that I had on top, and then I'm going to put all of this on the bottom to divide by it. So on the bottom I need negative 2 times 1667 times 1583. And since it's all on the bottom of the fraction, you're dividing by the whole thing. And you get this. So this is what cosine of P equals. But we know that, you know, clearly I'm not going to write all these digits on my paper, but really I don't want to round, so I'm going to do shift cosine answer. So in this case I get about 16 for my angle. From there I've already done lots of rounding, but obviously I can't give an answer where the triangle doesn't add up to 180 because that wouldn't make any sense. So to find angle A, I'm just going to do 180 minus 72 minus 16, and I'm going to say that A is 180 minus 72 minus 16, 92. And when I double check in the back of the book, I noticed they actually did 1 decimal place for each of these, so my answers are slightly off. But basically, as standard rule, if they don't tell you, I suggest that you do angles to the nearest degree, so this work would be fine. And it's possible that depending on the order you found these in, that your answer might be off by 1 degree somewhere, and that's okay too. Just make sure it adds up to 180 at the end. Okay?